This is the Carvin VLD1, or Legacy Drive,
which is a stomp box designed by Steve Vai. I'm going to be reviewing it today. I've got one camera on the device and a GoPro pointing at my good self, so you don't just have to look at the pedal the whole time. I got the GoPro and the VLD1 actually to take to Vai Academy 4 in California. Since it was such a long way, I wanted something portable, which is what Steve Vai had in mind when he designed this, something that he could have his legacy sound in a portable package. So this isn't just an overdrive pedal. You can use it like that. You can run it through the clean channel of an amp and you get some pretty good sounds out of it. But this is a preamp as well, and that's the primary function of this, to be used as a preamp. So you would plug this into the power amp in section of your amp, or FX return. It might not have a power amp in. My rig today, the way I'm setting this up today, is the way really that it's intended to be used. I'll take a picture of the rest of the pedals and setup because I've run out of cameras right now. I'll put that up on the screen. But what I'm doing basically is I'm going from my guitar into a few pedals, a tuner, overdrive, out of the overdrive, into the preamp, out of the preamp, into a delay, out of the delay, into the effects return of a Legacy 1 combo. So the whole front panel of the Legacy 1 combo is not in use at the moment, it's defunct. And that setup might sound complicated, but it's not when you imagine what an amp is and how it's set up normally. And I'll go into that a bit more later, but I'll show you what it sounds like for now. So with the preamp bypass just going through the Carvin Legacy 1 direct. And then when we get the preamp in, bypass the EQ and all the preamp circuitry of the amp and switch it to this preamp. And then the overdrive. And there's a gain boost as well, so you don't even need an overdrive pedal really. And that's obviously totally, sterile. There's nothing else in the signal path apart from the preamp. So with some of the other pedals that I've got in the chain, which you've seen a picture of, I'll put the delay on, because I always have delay on. I like distortion and delay, so that's just what I do. Knock the extra gain off again. And I also have an overdrive here as well, which I put over this channel with the gain on about, what's that on? The drive's on about 6, 7. So that's kind of similar to the Vai sound really. You've got, there are all these pedals. You've got his preamp, his Gemini distortion, and his E-Lydian mode that he uses in Kim P2E, for you theory buffs out there. So there is one other pedal that I use in the chain, which you can see on the picture, the EP booster, which I use for a bit of a boost, but without the woolly bottom end of the overdrive. So it's still got the punch on the bottom end, even with the guitar volume on full. That was cheating. But it sings on the top end as well. So I like that stuff for kind of, if I want a lot of sustain, but without the, say, woolliness and kind of thickness on the bottom end. But don't worry about that pedal. That will be a separate review. That's staying off for this one. I just didn't want to take it out of the chain. What I tend to do is run this with stuff in between, like I said, for a good live sound that's portable and easy to set up, and it's really customizable. So basically, you know, you've got the drive, which is the preamp. If you were running just say through a legacy head or just any amp, you've got an FX send and an FX return. You'd plug into the amp, the circuitry goes inside the amp, and then if you want to put a delay in the circuit, you'd tend to put it in the effects loop, which is basically a way of inserting a circuit in between the preamp and the power amp. This setup is exactly the same, but you don't need to tap into the amp to get that circuitry. There's no wizardry involved. You just make the chain up yourself, because we've now got a separated preamp and amp in a physical sense, in that I can move the preamp away from the power amp, whereas normally it's all in the one enclosure. So the chain would go guitar, stuff that you want in front of the amp normally. You know, if you had an overdrive and a wire in front of the amp, you'd stick that on the floor and you plug that into the front of your amp. You do the same here. So I've got guitar, overdrive pedal, into the preamp, because the preamp is now the front of the amp. Out from the preamp into whatever time-based effects you want, into the power amp of the amp that you're running through, which in this case is a Carvin VLD1. One of the other really good features, before I forget, just reminding myself, is that this cleans up really well, just like the amps. So if I have the volume really low on the guitar, I'm on the neck pickup now. You get an almost clean sound, and if you split it between the neck and the middle positions, for example, it cleans up even more, obviously. Which is great for those kind of, you know, I can tend to surrender. So in Tend to Surrender, there's the build up. In the actual recording, it sounds like he crossfades two amps, and there's some weird studio trickery going on there, but you can emulate it quite well with this kind of a setup where you've got an amp or a preamp that responds really well to being cleaned up. Then you can... It's not easy when you sat down. Move the whammy bar out of the way. So one cool feature about this preamp is that it's got a master volume, just like the Legacy 3 head does. So the preamp is rated to the full 100 watts, the same as the power amp capability of any of the Legacy heads. But the preamp has the master volume, so it gives you the full kind of scope of pushing the two 12AX7 valves that are in the preamp to saturation, so that you can get the great tone that you would normally only get from high volume. Say on the Legacy 1, it doesn't have a master volume, so you have to crank the amp to get something good out of it, or put a power attenuator in the chain. And a lot of people do that and get good results. But the preamp is really handy in that it's all built in, it's all there already. So at the moment I'm only playing at bedroom volumes, it's totally bearable, just loud enough so that the string noise isn't heard over the mic that's in front of the amp. On master volume on 2, and it's the top row on the overdrive, so we've got the volume on 4 on the overdrive there. So I'll quickly run through what the parameters are like and what the kind of scope is for tone shaping that you've got. You always have that kind of legacy flavour, it's a dark sound, it's got a lot of low mids that you can never really get rid of. But I'll show you what the presence does first. So I tend to keep the presence between 6 and 8, that's a sweet spot for me. The only thing I've got in the chain, by the way, is the delay at the moment and the preamp. So if I knock the, I'll play the presence a bit here and then knock it down to 4, and then I'll knock it up to full, and you can hear what it sounds like. So yeah, I tend to keep it around the 6 mark, but you can see that it really kind of, if you take it all the way off, really kind of makes the tone more woolly and warm and what have you, makes it stand further back. Trebles, obviously it depends totally on your setup, what you like, what your pickups are like. If I knock it down to about 9 o'clock, so there's a full kind of range there, mids. Another feature on the clean channel is that there is a presence switch. So that's with it disengaged, because I usually leave it on. And there's it back on again. Gives it a real sparkle. So there you go, the Carvin VLD1.